Canada's large and important oil industry, many of whom feel that Trudeau has sold them out so he can virtue signal on the environment. As the wealthy son of a former prime minister, there is also this sense that Trudeau is kind of this spoiled rich kid who is just sort of playing politics and doesn't really know what he's doing. The SNC-Lavalin scandal, the fact that Canada has racked up enormous budget deficits, and the more recent blackface scandal have all been cited as evidence that Justin Trudeau is a man with terrible instincts for everything beyond making himself the center of attention. Now, Trudeau has several people running against him, and it is sometimes a little bit difficult to tell how many of them should be taken seriously as legit candidates for the prime ministership. The Canadian party system is in a bit of flux right now, and some of the serious Canadian political pundits are telling us that our traditional notions of which parties matter and which ones don't might get shaken up a bit in this election. But basically, we could say that Trudeau's Liberal Party faces two major competitors, two minor competitors, and one kind of weird Quebec party that's sort of in the middle. But anyway, everybody seems to agree that Trudeau's main opponent in this election is the leader of the Conservative Party, Andrew Scheer. So I would say Andrew Scheer is a man who is quite happy for this election to just be a big referendum on Justin Trudeau's leadership, given that he is running quite a passive campaign. Scheer is a former Speaker of the Canadian Parliament, which in the Canadian system is a pretty low-key job, and Andrew Scheer has a pretty low-key personality to match. More than anything else, I think he just wants to be seen as a calm and competent guy who can easily step in and take charge once voters get sick of Justin Trudeau's antics. A lot of his marketing leans very heavily into this idea that he's just an ordinary middle-class dad with a family just like yours who's just trying to help you get ahead.
It's time for you to get ahead.
It's time for you to get ahead.
It's time for you to get ahead.
But you know, there are dangers that come with being too passive too. People either think you're boring and don't really stand for anything, or they think you've got some hidden agenda that you're trying to fool them into supporting. Now, much like in America, Canadian conservatives tend to be disproportionately religious folk, usually evangelical Protestants or conservative Catholics. But unlike in America, the policy influences of the Christian right faction of the Conservative Party have traditionally been held down by the more secular wing of the party, which has historically been more powerful. This is a delicate setup, and I would say there have been growing tensions between the religious and secular factions of the Conservative Party for a while now. Scheer is kind of a bridge figure, because even though he says that he's committed to the secular agenda, he is personally quite religious and has a lot of connections to that side of the party. So among people who don't like the Conservative Party, like, say, Justin Trudeau, it has become very popular to portray Scheer as like a kind of sleeper agent of the Christian right, someone who's just like super eager to ratchet back LGBT rights and legal abortion once he gets into power. The Liberals have been constantly circulating this clip of Scheer from 2005, in which he makes a passionate argument against gay marriage as proof of his real agenda.
There's nothing more important to society than the raising of children, for its very survival requires it. Homosexual unions are by nature contradictory to this. There is no complementarity of the sexes. Now, the Liberals always campaign against conservatives this way, but you could say with someone like Scheer, he is perhaps a little bit closer to the actual stereotype. All right, then there is candidate number 3, Jagmeet Singh of the New Democratic Party. Jagmeet Singh is obviously the most interesting guy running for Prime Minister because, you know, you can see he's the son of Indian immigrants and he's a member of the Sikh religion, so he has a big beard and turban. And yet, at the same time, Singh also really portrays himself as like this super assimilated hipster kind of guy who is not very stereotypically Indian at all. His favorite things in the world, his marketing team would like you to know, are MMA, basketball, and bespoke suits. Now, there's obviously a lot of worry that Canada is not ready for someone as different as Singh to become Prime Minister, which is basically just the euphemistic way that journalists say the country is too racist. In Quebec in particular, there's a strong sense that French-Canadian voters will not vote for somebody that looks like Singh, which has led to Singh's party to wage this whole sort of charm offensive in an effort to sort of appease the anxieties of French voters.
Je ne suis pas comme les autres. Comme vous, mon identité, c'est ma fierté.
Because Singh's image is so unconventional for a Canadian politician, it sometimes threatens to overshadow everything else about him, which may or may not actually be a good or bad thing. As the head of the NDP, Singh is the leader of the party that is supposed to be for voters to the left of Justin Trudeau. Now, some people might reply, well, I thought Justin Trudeau was pretty far to the left already, and this is actually a bit of a problem for the NDP. Like, where exactly does Singh draw his distinctions? While they might have some small differences on policy issues, Singh's main pitch is just that he is a more principled and passionate man than Trudeau, someone less inclined to compromise when the going gets tough, or surrender when special interests stand in the way.
I don't work for the wealthy and well-connected. Not just saying the right things, but actually doing them. Now that's different.
This is very typically NDP as well, you know, really focusing laser-like on every time the Liberals commit some left-wing heresy and then going, aha, you see, this is what you get with those phony baloney sellout Liberals in charge. Now, is this compelling? I don't know. The traditional charge against the NDP is that their leaders are very dogmatic and sanctimonious, and I think that's a fair charge to level against Singh in particular. But you know, being a little bit dogmatic can also help reinforce that narrative I was talking about earlier. This idea that Justin Trudeau is ultimately this fundamentally unserious person who is much more concerned with looking good than doing good. And talking of looking good, before we go any further, let us now hear a word from today's video sponsor, everybody's favorite mail-order razor company, Dollar Shave Club. Now, I remember when Prime Minister Trudeau's official portrait was released a while back, there was some minor controversy because it was very obvious that he had not shaved that day. But I could sympathize because I personally find shaving to be a bit annoying and often put it off for much longer than I should, as anyone who has watched one of my travel videos will know. But good old Dollar Shave Club has put those days behind me because this razor of theirs, this 6-blade number with the nice metal handle, is honestly the best razor I've ever used. It is so sharp and so smooth, it reminds me of like using an eraser, like just. And when you order their special shave starter set, look at all this stuff they give you. You get the razor and 4 replacement cartridges, this nice face scrub with the little gritty bits in it, you know the kind I mean. This shave butter, which probably had something to do with the closeness of the shave as well. And this post-shaving balm, which is personally something that I really hate shaving without using, so I'm very glad they included this. So the way it works is that the Dollar Shave Club people will mail you a box of shaving stuff every month, depending on your specifications. You can sign up using the link in the thing below and get your first box for only $9. Because at Dollar Shave Club, they pass the shavings on to you. Anyway, let us now look at the next candidate, the decidedly unshaven leader of the Bloc Québécois party, Yves-François Blanchet. Now, the Bloc Québécois is a party that English-speaking Canadians do not really think much about, even though it has consistently been the 3rd or 4th place party in the Canadian Parliament for close to 30 years now. This is because the Bloc is a protest party, kind of like the radical Irish separatists in the UK, or those Arab parties in Israel. It's the party you're supposed to vote for if you're a Quebec nationalist who doesn't view the Canadian federal government as legitimate. Or at least that's the theory. In practice, I think a lot of people would say that the Bloc Québécois has mellowed out a fair bit, and it's now really more of just a kind of niche Quebec interests party. Anyway, for the last 15 years, the leader of the Bloc Québécois was a guy called Gilles Duceppe, and in the aftermath of his resignation following the 2015 election, the party has struggled hard to find a permanent replacement for him. They literally went through 4 leaders in 4 years before settling on Monsieur Blanchet last January. From 2012 to 2014, he served as a cabinet minister in the provincial government of Quebec. Beyond that, however, I would say he is entirely unknown outside of his own province, which is probably just the way he likes it. The Bloc has not done very well in the last 2 Canadian elections, and I would say expectations are probably pretty low for them in this one too. However, Quebec voters are also famously some of the most erratic in Canada, prone to big switches in party preference without much notice. There is some thinking that because Blanchet is the first new leader that the Bloc Québécois party has had in ages, that might inspire some Quebec voters to give it a second look. People sometimes ask me what would happen if the Bloc actually won the election. The short answer is they can't. It's mathematically impossible because they only run candidates in Quebec. Well, actually, I guess that's not true. It could, in theory, be possible under like really extremely weird circumstances. They would basically have to win every single seat in Quebec, and then there would have to be at least 4 other parties in the parliament splitting all of the remaining seats equally among themselves. That